Hi everyone, and welcome back for another episode in our AI series. In the last episode we had the beginnings of a patrol path system. So we had this, for example, where we had an AI follow a path that we placed in the world, but when he reached the end he stopped. So what we're going to be doing today is adding further behaviour to this patrol path system. So we're going to add a few features to it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make it so it can loop back round. So basically he goes from the start here back to the end, sorry, back to the start, and keeps on going. And the other behaviour we're going to add is so that when he's at the end here, he can then double back on himself and go back the route he just came. So that's what we're going to have a crack at doing today. So our beginnings here. First thing we need to do is look at our behaviour tree. Now the behaviour tree is as follows. We find the path point, we move to that path point, and we increment the path index. So this is the part that's going to change, because these parts are still the same. This is finding a vector, this is moving to that vector, but this is deciding what part on that path it should be actually doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to detach that from our sequence. And instead of going straight to the increment, we're going to go into a selector first of all. And this selector will then go onto the increment. Now the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to have several things here alongside increment attached to the selector. And basically what happens is we're going to come down this line here, and what a selector does, if the first thing it goes down on the left hand side fails, it will go back up to the selector and keep going down another one, and then another one, and another one, until it reaches a success. When it reaches a success, it backs out completely. So it's a good way of doing multiple behaviours such as this. So on the increment path index, that's the first thing we need to do. Okay, it's going to choose to do this first. But what we're going to do is make it decide whether or not it has accomplished this or not. So we need to be able to determine when it can fail. So when should this one fail? Well, we should be failing it when it reaches the end of the path. So we've already got code here which determines the end of the path here. We've done it with the length. So we've got the path points, we've got the length of them, and we're checking what path index we're currently at, and whether or not we're less than them. And if we are, then we're continuing along the path. However, if we're not, this false is empty. We can use this to finish execute here and fail it, so it goes on to the next one. So copy and paste the finish execute node. Oh, hello. And this one will be connected to false. But it's important that you untick the success. So this will now fail when it goes down the false path. Click compile. And now, when this one fails, it will go back up and it will go back down another one here. So here we're going to create a new task to allow it to loop back to the start. So go on to new task, choose BT task blueprint base. And before we get cracking, go back to the content browser and rename it loop path. Okay, open up your loop path task, and we'll put in our execute receive execute AI and our finish execute, because we need both of these for any task to work. So the receive task AI is going to trigger when this one fails, so it's going to go up and then back down to this one here. And it's going to loop it. Now the way it loops it is we're going to basically set the path index to a different value. So we need to set the variables here, a new variable bb underscore path index, and that's going to be the variable type of blackboard key selector. Click compile, and the path index here, you drag this out onto the blueprint, and we're going to set the value as a int, and we can plug it in like so. And the value we want to leave at 0, because the 0 is the first key, the first index. So loop back round to the start of the index, the path, sorry. However, we don't want to do this all the time. We want to check whether or not we actually are loopable. So we're going to put a little test check here. before we get into that though, we're going to go back right to the beginning and work our way from the start to this point here, because this is the end point. So the start point is on our patrol path actor itself. So the patrol path actor needs a variable called isLooping, and that'll be a boolean, so it'll be true or false whether or not we're looping or not. And you want to make it editable, so go instance editable and tick it so a little eyeball shows, and click compile. Now we can go onto our behavior tree, onto the blackboard, and we can add a new key, a boolean, and we go path looping. Make sure it's a boolean type, the red pill color, and go back onto our loop path. So on the loop path here, we can go add a new variable, and go bb underscore looping, and the looping blueprint will come. Blackboard will come from here. Okay. So we want to make sure that the eyeballs are showing for both of these, make them editable. Drag your bb looping out and get, and from there you want to get value as a bool, and now you've got a boolean. You can do a branch like so. So if it's true, it will loop back to the start and head towards the 0 index. Tick the success box. However, whilst we're here, we might as well do the false down here too. And we've done the false here, so it's pretty much exactly the same. We're going to come out here and do finish, execute, leaving success as false. So if it does fail, that's only because we haven't ticked it to be loopable. Okay. Click save, go back to your behavior tree, and we can now add that loop path node here, and we need to change the blackboard key selectors here, path index and looping, to be the correct one. So path index on the right hand side we can change to patrol path index, and bb looping we can change to path looping. So now we've got two separate things. We've got a patrol path with a variable, and we've got behavior tree with a blackboard. We now need to marry the two together, and that's all handled on the AI controller. So on the AI controller, we're going to go on begin play, because we're only going to have to do it once. On the begin play, we're going to get the controlled pawn. So this will get whatever this AI controller is controlling, and we're going to test that against the NPC by casting it to NPC. Because this will return a generic pawn, we need to work with an actual NPC specific actor. So the NPC, we're going, once we've got the cast here, we're going to promote this to a variable and store that as my pawn. Now we've got the pawn of the AI controller, we can get the patrol path of the pawn, and the patrol path has that is looping variable. It's looping. So now we've fetched it, we now can get the blackboard. And with the blackboard we can set a value as a bool, plugging it in as such. The key name will be exactly as we spelt it in the blackboard. So drag your key name out, and go make literal name, and just type in the exact name that we put on our blackboard, which in this case is path looping. And boolean to boolean. Okay, so is looping gets fed into that blackboard at the start of the game. So let's test see if this works. If I go back to my map, choose my patrol path, and I can tick to make it sure it's looping, and click play, and he should now run to the end, and when he reaches the end he should go back to the start and keep on going round. There we are. So that's the first behaviour done. The next behaviour we're going to try and do is make it decrement the path so it goes back along it. So this one's a bit more involved, but let's start off with the basics. So we've got increment path index, we want to decrement it, so take away one from each path index. So a lot of the codes can be a lot of the same stuff that we see in increment path index here. So go to your content browser and duplicate that increment path index here and name it decrement path index, and open it up. So let's first of all change the things we need to change in here. So the thing the main thing we need to change is this +1 we have going here, the increment of the integer. We're going to delete that, and instead of +1, we're going to take away 1. The next thing we need to do is check whether or not we're at the start of the path rather than the end. This here is checking the end. Okay, we don't want to check the end. We're coming from the end, we're going to the start, so we need to check whether or not we're back at the start. And that's quite simple. We don't need any of this actually. So let's delete all that, including the cast. We don't need that, and we don't need the less than or equal to. Instead, we need greater than or equal to 0. And you execute will go into the branch as such. So it's almost identical. That would be true, and so forth. Okay. Oh, sorry. Set blackboard value as int. We need to get the int from here. There we go. Click compile, and there we have our decrement path index. So a couple of issues that will arise from this. Let's first of all just add it to the tree. So go to selector, and over here we're going to do the decrement path index, and we'll make sure we choose the right path index option from here on the right hand side. So rather than using target location, we want to use patrol path index, and click save. So the issue that we currently have is that the actor will head towards the end, then start doubling back on himself, but because his path index is no longer in at the extremes, either the start or the end, he will now continue to increment instead. So it will just bounce back and forth between the last 2 points because the increment is first on the list. Okay, so this will fail, then it will do this and decrement it, but next time it comes down, this will become true and become a success. So we need to determine the direction that the AI is walking in and store that as a value. So we're going to go into our blackboard and make a new key storing that direction. Now I store it as an integer. There are multiple ways of doing it, but I do an integer because then we can use it for scaling things. If we use -1 and 1, for example. So go back to your behavior tree, and we're going to go first of all into increment path index. So a few things we need to do here. So at the very start of this, we need to do a check whether or not the blackboard key for direction is going the right direction for incrementation. So on the variables, click on the new variables, bb_direction, and we're going to go blackboard key selector again, and we'll make it editable, and click compile, drag it out onto your blackboard blueprint, and then with the direction we're going to go get as ball, get value as ball, and we're going to check whether or not ball, it's an integer, isn't it? bb direction as int, get blackboard value as int, and from there we're going to check whether or not it's equal to 1 being forwards in this case. This will go to a branch. So if we're heading forwards, we want to increment the value. Now we are incrementing the value, we do the incrementation, and then at the end we need to change something here too. So if we are heading forwards, we want to continue heading forwards. So on the true, we're going to set the direction. Get direction and set value as int. Let's make sure we set it to 1 still, so it keeps on going in the right direction. And then on the false, we need to take the change direction. So here we're going to set value as int, and this time the value will be -1. So when we reach the end of the path, it will change direction to -1. Okay. Now what we did here, we basically got to do exactly the same, but the opposite on the decrement. So let's just move these out of the way. Move that along. New variable, bb underscore direction. There's a blackboard key selector. Click compile. I'll make it editable, then compile. Drag your direction out. Get value as int. Is it equal to -1 this time? And that'll go to a branch, which will then kick off the rest of it. Now at the end we want to do what we've done before. So if it's true, we want to keep direction going the same way. So set direction as a int. So you want to set the value of direction to be -1 to keep going 1. And again on the false, we're going to set blackboard value as int. This time turn it around and go 1. Okay. One thing we need to also do on the branch here, we've got a false here that's not going anywhere. We want to make sure we finish execute here to be failing, and we're going to do exactly the same on the increment as well. Let's compile that. Where is it? There it is. Finish execute false, and click compile. Now if I go and click on my path and tell it not to loop, hit play, he should. No, he won't move. Now the reason why he's not moving is because I forgot our direction here. We haven't set the default value for it. Now the default value for it we set in the AI controller. So similar to what we've done here, we're going to do something similar again. So drag your my pawn. Oh no, not the my pawn out. We'll just do get blackboard and then set value as int, and we're going to make the key name and we'll call it direction, and the int value here will be 1. We might go forwards first of all. Compile it. Let's go back to our behavior tree and just double check a few things here. So see where it says bb direction, it's got colon target location. We don't want it to be target location, we want to use the direction key on both of those. Click save and let's go play, and off he goes. And now when he reaches the end, he should double back on himself, back to the previous point and back to the start. And when he reaches the start, he should go back the way he came. Excellent, and he'll keep him doing that forever. And the last thing we're going to do before we wrap up today is we're going to add a wait timer in between each node. So maybe you have a guard patrolling around a map, and when he reaches a spot to pause, you want him to pause there, we can make a wait timer for him to pause. So to do that, we go into our behavior tree, and after the move to, we're going to go and do a wait blackboard time, and this is going to tell the AI to wait based on a timer that we set on our blackboard. Now the blackboard key will be none, we have to give it 1. So go to your blackboard and go new key, float, and we're going to call it wait time. Click save, go back to your behavior tree, and it should have already set to wait time, but if not, choose it from the drop down wait time. If it doesn't show, make sure it's a float in your blackboard. And now we need to set a variable to be assigned to this blackboard value here. So again, back on our AI controller, just what we've done here, we're going to do exactly the same again. We're going to go from the blackboard, get blackboard, we're going to go set value as a float, like so. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to get it from the patrol path. So the patrol path, we're going to make another variable for it. So after it is looping 1, we're going to make another one called wait time, which will be a float. Click compile, and I'm going to give it a default value of 0.5. Compile it again, back to our AI controller, and now that's there, we can drag the my pawn reference that we saved earlier, get it, get the patrol path, get the wait time of the patrol path, and plug that in like so. I'm going to make the literal name of this and call it exactly as it is spelt, exactly the same on our blackboard. Go back to the game, push play, and now you should wait half a second at each point. And to demonstrate how you can change this, click on the patrol point here, and we're going to make it editable. Delete eyeball apart. And now I can set 4 seconds, for example, and you'll go to a point, wait 4 seconds before moving on to the next point. And that's it. So in the next episode, we're going to combine basically what we've done here with the chasing parts and make him so he'll patrol a route until he sees you, and he'll run at you, and when he stops seeing you, he'll head back to his original patrol path. And we'll do it in the next episode. Thank you for everyone watching and subscribed and supporting me thus far. If you want to support me and see the next videos right now, you can do over on patreon.com/RyanLely, just like these fantastic people have. I couldn't be doing this without them. Thank you very much. Yeah, so tremendous value. Words can't describe it, obviously. Thank you so much. It really means everything to me. And yeah, so I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, see you next time. Bye.